we always say Tami's story, take one.
Mm-hmm.
You might go like that.
Yep. It doesn't have to be like, that was perfect how you did it.
All right. So I think there is a simple yet dominant theme in Scripture where we talk about how God is the divine potter and humanity is the clay in his hands. And that Scripture verse, the Scriptures that come around that have been very meaningful to me for a long time. I've used them a lot to talk to students about creation and being held in God's image and trying to follow the plan that God has designed and created for us. But over this past year, that Scripture has become a lot more powerful to me as I've become a mom. Mike and I had been trying for 10 years to have a child, and during that time, we prayed for every type of miracle you could ever ask for. Everything under the sun, we were asking for it, and nothing was coming through. We had been down the path of infertility treatments, procedures, successes, and losses. And during that time, we started to think about, well, should we start pursuing traditional adoption? And we went down that road, and with a very grim vision of hope there. At our age, it was highly unlikely that we would be given an infant. And so we just kind of were falling out of that, feeling very disappointed and not sure that there was going to be a future for a family for us. Our doctors started asking us questions about if we had ever considered embryo donation. And we had never even heard of that. We didn't even know that was an option. But we got excited when we started exploring it and figuring out what that was all about. And we didn't really know it, but at that point we got our names on a list, and then it took another very long 2 years. When I think about that time and I think about how did I keep all the pieces together? How did I not just fall and crumble into pieces? I really have to think about the support system that was around me. And without a doubt, my prayer warrior is Beth Henderson. She has been my prayer warrior literally for 10 years. I don't remember when Beth and I kind of started doing women in youth ministry, but I've been in it with her from the very beginning. And I can't imagine where I would have been, especially through this 10-year journey, without it. It is by far the most valuable circle of prayer that I could ever experience or share with someone. When you think about trying to create a family and you're doing all these different things and you're disappointed, you're excited, you're trying things, there's a lot of room for judgment and failure and those kinds of things, but never once did a woman in that group ever judge me. Never once did they try to discourage me. It was literally 10 years of encouragement and support and prayer. It was always like, let me laugh with you, let me cry with you, let me hold you up in this moment. In September, God came through and we got the call that we had the opportunity to try if we still wanted to. And of course we did. And as Mike and I talked about that and we were thinking about naming our son, realizing that we were not able to biologically create our son ourselves, but we believe so deeply that he was absolutely created by the hands of God that it just made sense that his name would be Clay, and that we just felt honored that God was choosing us to be his parents. And what an incredible role that is to play, parents of a son created by God in hopes that we can be responsible for helping him grow into the masterpiece that God created him to be. As I'm looking back on that time, I guess, I started thinking about how God shapes us as clay, not just in our physical bodies. Like when we consider ourselves to be clay in the hands of the potter, we're thinking usually about how God shapes us physically. But if you also think about it, we can also think about it for the way that God is shaping us inwardly from the inside out. And that's exactly what was happening with Mike and I. God was working on us. A skilled potter knows exactly how to apply pressure, how to release the stress, also how to squeeze and nudge at the right time in order to shape the perfect vessel. And I really think that God was squeezing and nudging us as a couple, as individuals, and that God was intending for us to spend a little time in the kiln, the fires of the kiln, so that we could become, hopefully, watertight containers that can be vessels for his use. God knew exactly what he was doing when he chose us to be Clayton's parents. It was nothing what we expected it to be, but it absolutely was right for us. And he was born on December 7th. At the end of 2020, which we've had so many people reach out to us and say what a beacon of light our story, or just Clayton's birth, has been to them in what we all look at as a very dark year. And as we look forward and we look into the future, we really do hope, Mike and I hope, that the three of us, as we grow together as a family, we can be beacons in the light of times of darkness. Our world right now is hopefully coming into the light, but when we look around ourselves, there's a lot of division, there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of casting of blame and those kinds of things. And I truly hope that just as we have been supported and walked with side by side to go through our journey, I hope that we as a family, now a family of three, I guess plus 2 dogs and a cat, that we can be that for others and that we can walk alongside others. Because what a blessing it has been to, looking back on it, what a blessing it has been to be sitting in that, the fires of that kiln, so that we can be those watertight, strong vessels for God's purpose. We'd made promises to God that we would honor and glorify him through our journey, and we hope to do that.